If you are locating a mission-critical data center or installation near an urban environment, information pertaining to the EPA, criteria pollutants, and air permitting authorities is extremely useful. In particular, recent changes in the legislation may create the requirement for emission control technology for emergency standby generators. In order to provide you with an overview of how these changes affect you, we've created a brief video series on this topic. This first video will provide an overview of the EPA and specific criteria pollutants. The Clean Air Act mandates the EPA to solve specific air pollution problems by using the latest science and technology. The EPA accomplishes this by creating federal regulations that require the use of technology to reduce these harmful pollutants. There are 6 criteria pollutants that they specifically focus on. Of those, the following 4 apply to diesel generators: ozone, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and finally particulate matter. There are hundreds of locations throughout the U.S. where these criteria pollutant measurements are taken and overseen by the EPA. To reduce the level of these pollutants, the EPA uses the following methodology to establish its regulations. One method involves regulating the use of specific technologies for certain applications. An example that most people would be familiar with are the EPA regulations on new cars. When every new car is sold, it must meet minimum levels of pollutants using a catalytic converter. Similar regulations exist for generators. The EPA engine tiers are the most commonly known example. To determine which technology should be implemented, the EPA performs a cost-benefit analysis, looking at the costs of applying these technologies versus the overall societal benefit. If the societal benefit outweighs the costs, then the new technologies are regulated into use. Going back to our catalytic converter example, all new cars must have a catalytic converter, as the EPA has determined this technology provides an overall net benefit to society. The next video will look at the approach that the EPA uses to reduce criteria pollutant emissions.